Hey, what's up guys, Kirk here, and welcome back to the Geek Effect. In today's video, I have another action figure review for you all. Last month, I took a look at the retro card Thing figure from Fantastic Four, and I enjoyed that figure a lot. I love a lot of the details on it, and it's been a great figure to have on display, and I think it's safe to say that it might be one of my favorites that I've unboxed this year. So with that being said, it's time to take a look at another retro Fantastic Four figure, and this is one that's been in my collection since mid last year. We're going to be taking a look at the retro card Fantastic Four Doctor Doom figure, which was actually the first edition from Hasbro for their Marvel Legends Retro Fantastic Four line, and this is a very cool looking figure. I've seen it out of this shipper box. It looks nice, it has some cool accessories, so I can't wait to finally get it out of the packaging, especially after having it for quite some time. Let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. So Doctor Doom does start off in this cool shipper box, which has an all-white body. You have the Fantastic Four logo at the top, Marvel Comics 90s style logo up in the right-hand corner, and then a sketch image of Doctor Doom in a pretty cool pose. I like how this looks. It has a nice retro sort of feel to it. And you also have the Doctor Doom text at the bottom in red, which looks nice. I love it when Hasbro does this shipper box sort of thing for certain Marvel Legends figures because it has a cool display factor to it, and in a way, it kind of helps to protect the actual card that's inside for these exclusive type figures. It's something that they did with the retro card Venom from Hasbro PulseCon last year, and they also did it with the other two exclusive figures for Fantastic Four, which were the Invisible Woman in a translucent body mold, and then Johnny Storm in his powered down mode where you can actually see his Fantastic Four attire. So I love it when Hasbro does this, and I do hope to see more of this in the future. Allows you to have a cool piece to kind of display alongside your card and the figure. Once you set the shipper box to the side though, you do get to see the actual card that is within, and I love this packaging, as I said time and time again, because it's that 90s style Toy Biz packaging that we get to see with a lot of the retro card stuff that they're doing for Marvel Legends, and this, like I said, has a very nice look to it. It has a uniqueness to it. It's got some vibrant colors and everything going on with the Fantastic Four logo at the top. Again, the Marvel Comics 90s style logo up there in the right hand corner. And you also have a shot of the teams. You have Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman, Thing, and then the Fantastic Car. And then you also have the display window with the figure inside for Doctor Doom. Seems like he has some pretty cool accessories and everything like that, 2 books and some other stuff to go alongside him, so I can't wait to get those out and see how those work. Flipping the card around though, we do get to see some more artwork and a bit more text. We have Fantastic Four up there with the Marvel logo up in the left hand corner. We also have the same image that we see on the shipper box of Doctor Doom, but in a colorized version, and I do like how this looks. It has a nice vibrant look to it. Moving over here, we do get to see another sketch image of Doctor Doom, but this one has a bit of a standard pose where he's just standing tall with his arms to the side. It doesn't show you that you can swap out anything like how some of the other retro card figures do for Marvel Legends, but he does have swappable hands, which we'll get to a bit later in this review. But moving down here, you do get to see another text that does say Doctor Doom, and then it gives you a bit of a read up on the character, which says, Victor Von Doom is bent on complete world domination. As Doctor Doom, he applies unlimited resources to square off against his arch nemesis, the Fantastic Four. So, pretty solid read up, just kind of gives you a bit of info on the character, and then once you move down there, you can see all of the warning and everything like that about, small parts and everything like that. But with that to the side, let's go ahead and get this figure out of the box. Alright, so here is Retro Doctor Doom out of the packaging, and for starters, I'm going to be completely honest, I hate the fact that I did not take this figure out of the packaging sooner. It looks fantastic, no pun intended. I think that this figure is definitely going to be one of my favorites that I have unboxed this year, and it's just the sheer look of it that looks fantastic and looks great. This is actually a reuse of the body mold from the Super Skrull Wave Doctor Doom, which I don't currently have, but at some point I want to try and get my hands on that, and maybe some of the other members of the Fantastic Four that are in that sort of style that isn't retro, but I really like that they went with that body mold for this character because it carries the look and, stature and everything of Doctor Doom very well. The face mold is great, and just all the details that are there in the, elbow area, along the arm, the legs, the garment and everything that he's wearing looks pretty solid. But let's go ahead and get a closer look at this thing. So here we are up close to the retro Doom figure, and for starters, I'm really digging how the head sculpt turned out. It is one piece, which means that both the hood and the head sculpt itself are attached to one another, but in my opinion, it's not necessary for it to be two separate pieces because I always associate Doctor Doom with having his hood on, so having an option to really take it off isn't that important to me. But if you wanted to do that sort of thing, I guess you could modify it yourself and put some work in to get it off of the actual head. But the hood piece does have some nice sculpting going on for it. You can see the wrinkles and everything at the neck area, on the side of it, and especially towards the back where you can see a lot of the wrinkles bunching up, and then the tip of the hood as well, along with the seam line right there, and even at the top of the head as well. But when you move back towards the front, you can see all of the facial details that I think are pretty accurate to Doctor Doom. You can see the rectangular openings for the eyes, the opening for the mouth with the great sort of design for his mouth, and then you can even see all the bolt details and everything on his mask, which add that extra bit of texture. He even has the cone-shaped nose, which I think turned out pretty well and is very accurate to the character. And when you open up the hood just a little bit, try and let some light in, you can see all the chiseled and, defined sort of aspects of his jaw. I think it turned out pretty well in my opinion. Moving down towards the torso area of this figure, we get to see a soft good piece, which was a nice surprise to me. When I first saw this figure online and everything like that, I thought that this was going to be a soft plastic piece for some reason, similar to the one of the cape, but that's not the case at all. This is actual fabric and it feels good, has a nice cut and everything to it, and I'm hoping that with this being the case on this figure, we can see more of this in the future with figures from Marvel Legends, at least those that it really needed, not just to kind of go overboard with it. I don't expect them to do that, but having it where it counts for a figure definitely could make the figure feel more special, just like it does for this one. Another thing I will mention about the collar piece is that they included this so that you can have two different versions of Doom. For those that want to display the early sort of appearance of Doom from the Fantastic Four issue number 5, I believe it is, then they would be able to have that version where it's just a collar, no cape, and I think that's a nice touch to have here on this figure to give the collector a little bit of an option on how they want to display their figure. So you can either have early appearance Doom or Doom with the cape and everything like that going on for him, and so it's nice to have some options with this character. Once you lift this up though, you can see a bit more detail on the torso, like the string that holds the neck area of his garment together. You can see all the wrinkles and everything, of course, near the waist, near the armpit area, and everything like that. Looks pretty good. I think that the sculpt work turned out very nice, and all of that detail and everything continues down towards the rest of the garment area, and especially towards the back once you lift up the cape some, and then you can see the peg hole for the cape, you can see the boosters for his jetpack, and you can even see all the other wrinkles and everything on his garment. As for the cape piece on Doom, I do like how it turned out. It has a nice look of it flowing down, and then you can see all the folds and the wrinkles in it. The texture of the cape has a nice rough feel to it that has that cloth-like feel, which I think is nice. And when you look back towards the front, you can see the paint apps that are there for the chain part of his cape, and then those circular pieces. I'm not really sure if those have a name for them, but they do look nice. The color is good, and they do have some nice sculpt work going on with the design and everything that is there. There is some slight fading and stuff going on with my paint job on my figure, but that's nothing I'm really going to complain about because it does tend to happen a lot with Legends figures. I'm used to it at this point, and it's not something I'm going to make a fuss about. If anything, I guess I could try and find the exact paint. Maybe someone out there knows, and then I could just try and touch it up myself, but honestly, it's no big deal. You're only going to notice it when you're looking super close up to this figure. The belt that Doom has, I do like the sculpting of it. I think that it looks pretty solid in my opinion. The shaping is nice, the colors are good, and you can even see the same gold paint apps that are on the chain for his cape. You can see that there on the buckle, you can see it there on the buttons that are on the side of his belt, and overall, a very nice detail to have here all around with the strap and everything for the belt. And then you also have the holster detail that's right here. A nice sculpting going on with it, with the sculpted in initial for D for Doom. That's nice, and it has the leather sort of texture and design engraving going on there, which is very faint, but you will notice it. I do like how that looks on the flap and everything for the holster. You can even open the holster up to reveal one of the accessories that this figure does come with. He already has it inside there, which is nice, and that's the pistol piece that he comes with. I do like how it looks. The sculpting is nice. There is a bit of bending to it just because of the soft plastic material, but it is a nice looking piece. The sculpting does look pretty cool, but we'll get into this a bit later when it comes to looking at the other accessories. We're just going to put this back in there for the moment. As for the arms and the legs on this figure, I do think that they look very nice. The flat silver color that we get with the head sculpt is more visible on the arm, so we get to see how it looks. The color and tone of it does look nice. It has a bit of shine on it when it's in, light and everything, which is a nice touch. And you can see all the bolt details and everything that has that armor-like feel and look to it, which is nice. You can even see the chainmail sort of design on the inside of his elbow area. Same thing on the sort of armpit or shoulder piece that's going on there. That looks good. And all those same details can be found on the leg. You can see more bolts and stuff on the thigh, on the calf area, some more on his foot. And then you can even see the same sort of chainmail design at the back of his leg as well in both joints, which is a nice touch. Definitely no complaints when it comes to the details that are there. I do know, like I said, that this was a reuse of the body mold from the Super Scroll Wave Doom, so there are the same straps that are there on the bicep area and also at the forearm, but those are not painted. The ones on the Super Scroll Wave Doom were painted in brown. These are not, just to kind of, I guess, provide that more comic book-like style that has that early sort of appearance. Not a whole bunch of like colors and everything going on there, but nonetheless, I still do like how this look, and I think that it helps to interpret the sort of retro feel of this figure very well. Moving on over, it's time to take a look at the accessories that Doom comes with, and he comes with quite a bit, as we can see right here. For starters, he does come with 2 additional hands, one of them having a trigger finger sort of look to it. This is going to be great for the pistol that he comes with. Has a nice sculpt to it. I do like how it turned out. You also have an opened up hand with the finger spread apart. Has that look as if it's grabbing something from the bottom, which does look nice, and this could also be used with the books or if he was holding one of the other accessories, which we'll get into in a moment. But I do like how these turned out. There's even some sculpting going on the palm of this hand, which is nice. And then, of course, if you're looking to swap these hands out, you can easily do so, just like with any Legends figure, by popping the current hand out of there and then swapping these in. You can alternate between the two just to add some variety to how your Doom is displayed. Speaking of trigger fingers though, we do have the pistol that was in the holster earlier, and as I stated before, I do like how this sculpt looks. It looks nice. There's some detail on the grip of the handle. You can see all the sort of intricate details at the top of it, the back of it, and everything like that. Does look very solid, and I believe that this is a Luger, but I could be completely wrong. So if that's not what this gun is and you guys know what it is, let me know in the comment section below. I'm not that knowledgeable when it comes to weapons and all that sort of thing, but I'm pretty sure that this is what this is. It does fit very nicely in the hand of Doom's trigger finger, so you can easily just put it in there and then, of course, put the finger through the area where the trigger would be. And once you do that, you can see it has a nice firm grip on it. I do like how that looks in hand, and you can have it aimed and all that good stuff. Definitely don't want to be messing around when he has this in his hand. Next up, we have a weapon of mass destruction, which is the ultimate nullifier. This thing is quite a powerful weapon because it has the ability to render things into nothingness due to the power of the user's mind. And also, if the user's mind is not powerful enough, it can cause the user to be rendered into nothingness themselves. So I think this thing is something you don't want to mess around with, and I do like that they included it with this figure. The only thing I will say though is that I wish that the color was in more of an accurate color, like how it is in the comics, where it has a silver look instead of this black mold, because I think that it just would have been, more accurate, of course. And if they were to have done that, maybe just make it a slightly darker color so that it doesn't blend too much with Dr. Doom's like flat silver color, or maybe make it lighter in its tone, just something so that it doesn't blend in too much. Next up are what I think will definitely be one of my favorite pieces to have with this figure, which are these book accessories. They look very detailed, and they actually reused the mold from the Gray Beast figure from that 90s Toy Biz inspired line for X-Men from Legends. I think that this mold is very solid, looks great, especially with all the details that we see, like the wash on the pages to give you the graph details, the scribbles, even some more wash on the side of the pages at the top. And then if you flip this around, you can see some sculpted details on the spine of the book for, to give that text look, and some other details for the spine, some more text sort of sculpting going on for the cover of it. And you can even see the other sort of textures on the book cover itself, which looks very nice. Same thing for this piece as well. One of them does come in this dark gray color, or like a stone gray color, and the other one is in red. And then this one actually has a logo on it, which is the Sanctum Sanctorum logo. I don't know if this is meant to be a particular sort of book that, has affiliation with Doctor Strange or something like that, but this is a nice piece and nice detail there. And then this one has a symbol that is the Darkhold symbol. This is the comic book style logo or symbol for the Darkhold. And this is pretty cool to have because we have been seeing a bit of the Darkhold in terms of like live action stuff with Marvel. I think it's been on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know it has been in the Runaways. And then there's also been a recent appearance with the Darkhold in WandaVision. So this is a cool piece to have. And it works pretty well with the hands and everything that are on this figure. You could put it in the opened up hand, as I stated earlier. That is going to be great for this if you want to have him holding it in his hand. Or you can put it in the pistol gripping hand if you want, take the pistol out and then you can have him hold it by like the spine in a way, like depending on how you wedge it in between there, you could be able to get it to hold. And it looks, pretty good once you get it in there. As you can see right now, he's holding it as if he's reading it or something like that. Or he can throw the book at, one of the Fantastic Four members and just run away or something like that. But very cool piece. Moving on over, we have another set of accessories for Doom, which are these Mystic Effects. These are very nice looking pieces. They have a nice detail to them, and they're in this soft plastic material that has a rubbery sort of feel. It's, very flexible, and the reason why is so that you can wrap it around your Doom's wrist and then kind of like go into the hand like so. And, it has a nice grip on it. It's not going to, shake off or anything like that, no matter how hard you shake it, because it's a very flexible material, holds very well. And it looks cool for like power effects if you want to have this displayed on your figure, or if you want to, do some toy photography with it. It's a cool accessory to have to show some of Doom's, mystic abilities. And then, of course, you have another one, which can simply just kind of go on this part of his wrist as well, and then wrap around into the hand, which, like I said, looks good. Very solid pieces to have. Last but not least, the final accessories here for Doom are the blast effects that we have for his jetpack boosters. And these are very nice. They have a pretty decent sculpt going on here, and they're in the translucent yellow sort of color. They are a bit of a soft plastic, so they have some, bend to them, but you're not really going to be looking to bend them a whole lot anyhow. It's just not in hard plastic, which is nice. I always like the feel of the soft plastic materials that Legends does include with their figures. They do have pegs on them at the end, so if you want to put these into the holes on the jetpack boosters, you can simply plug them directly in there, and they have a nice and firm grip. Same thing with the other piece as well, just plug it in there, and then you can have him fly off into the sunset, and escape the Fantastic Four, or, fly into battle and go to fight the Fantastic Four. It's a nice accessory to have, and I think it adds to the character, and overall just helps to give you a bit more functionality and, display factor to your figure. When it comes to Retro Doom's articulation, he has a good bit of it. We have some rotation in the head with a 360-degree turn, which is very smooth. You can also tilt the head down as far as that towards the chest, and then tilt it back as far as that. It kind of gets stopped because of how the neck joint is, and also because of the hood piece, but it still does have a good bit of articulation for it. The shoulder does rotate 360 degrees, and you can move it upward. As far as that, it kind of stops a bit unless you kind of force it to go some more, then it can go in further, and then it kind of stops right there, and then you can also aim it back down. As for the bicep, you do have the full swivel rotation going on there. You also have the double jointed elbows, which means that you can curl his elbow in and kind of actually have him in a bit of a thinking pose if you want to use that gun hand. And where the angle sort of is, it looks like he's thinking about something, maybe thinking about how to stop the Fantastic Four, something like that. I do like how that looks. There's also the swivel in the wrist, so you can rotate that 360 degrees. And then with the gun hand, there is a vertical joint in there, or the vertical peg, so that means that you can tilt the hand downward instead, which is nice. And then you can tilt it back upward. As for the other hand that comes with this, the more open hand, you can have the same swivel there, and then also it tilts outward and then back inward. The rotation on the waist is pretty solid. It does rotate 360 degrees, but the only thing that looks weird is that when you try to tilt it backwards, there is a very large gapage right there if you want to have him tilting backwards. So it's going to look like he's like disjointed or something like that. It's going to look very weird. You might have to like raise the skirt part of his garment up some or something like that to try and help to cover it up. but when you tilt it back inward, it does cover any of that gappage up in the front. The only thing is that it's going to be the same thing for the back that's going to look weird. So you kind of have to like pick your cards right when it comes to how your figure is posed if you don't want to have like the gaps and everything exposed. As for the leg articulation, there is a good bit of it there as well. You can lift the legs up as far as that, kind of get some side kick action going on, put it back down. There's full rotation in the thigh area, which is pretty good. And then you also have the double jointed knee, which means that you can bend that in as far as that. It has a good bit of bend going on for it. And then there's also the ankle rockers going on for the feet, which means you have some good rotation going on there. You can tilt it side to side, and then you can also tilt it backward like this. It's a bit stiff on the joint for my figure, unfortunately, which is a bit of a bummer right now, but you can tilt it backward as far as that, and then you can also tilt it in back as far as that once you just put a bit of force for this one, at least just because of how stiff the joint is. But overall, some very nice articulation. You can get all sorts of fun poses with this, obviously, and I can't wait to see how I pose the figure, how I take the photos of it, and then also, you know, how I have it displayed over time. It's going to be a lot of fun to mess around with its articulation. To give you an idea of the scale of the Retro Doom figure, I do have 3 figures that I've picked to have it side by side with, and for starters, I have the Retro Card Thing figure, which makes sense because it's a Fantastic Four figure, so we're going to want to have at least one Fantastic Four figure to take a look at with it. And so I have the Retro Thing. He looks very nice next to Doom in terms of the color palette and everything like that. And the scaling in terms of the height, Thing is like slightly taller than Doom by like this much, not that much, but you can see the height difference from the front and also from the side and at the back as well. But I do like how these figures look together. I'm really excited to get the other Fantastic Four members unboxed and then have them all on display together. Taking Thing to the side though, I have another Retro Card figure, which is the Retro Card Dazzler, and I do like how this one looks as well next to Doom. The color palette with the retro themed figures just is so cool to see, and they look nice. It has a nice vintage sort of look to it, comic book style look to it, which I'm really digging, and I like having these figures in my collection. We can see that Doom is a bit taller than Dazzler, but they still, like I said, do look pretty good side by side together, especially when you look at it from the side and also from the back as well. I do like how that looks. The last figure I do want to take a look at too is the symbiote suit Spider-Man, which does look very nice in comparison with Doom. He's slightly, shorter than Doom by like this much as well. So Doom does kind of tower over him just a little bit, but you can see it from the front, you can see it from the side, and you can also see it from the back as well. So I do like how all these figures seem to scale with them. It seems like in some scenarios, Doom is going to be just slightly taller than most of the Legends figures that I have in my collection, but nonetheless, they all look great together. Well, that wraps up our review of the Legends Retro Doom figure from Fantastic Four. I really love how this figure turned out, and I think that the Legends team really is nailing it when it comes to the retro, vintage sort of looking characters that have that comic book and retro styling to them. This figure definitely fits within the retro theming when it comes to the other retro lines like Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and X-Men. So if you're the type of person like me that likes collecting the retro line stuff, definitely pick this up if you have the opportunity to, because you definitely will enjoy, especially if you have the retro Fantastic Four stuff. You're going to want to have a Dr. Doom to put with your Fantastic Four members. I also do think that he has a great bit of accessories going on for him in terms of playability and also displaying him and taking photos. Like the book piece is a nice piece to have. It has some nice detail to it. The mystic effects are pretty cool, and the option to display your figure as either early appearance Doom with this cloth collar or have him as the sort of standard looking Doom with the cape and the hood is a nice option to have. It gives you a bit of variety, which I always like to see with a Legends figure. With that being said though, I hope you all enjoyed this review, and if you guys did, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like as well, and leave me a comment. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this figure? Do you have it in your collection? Do you like it? Do you not like it? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section below and be able to engage with you all, as well as don't forget to follow me over on Instagram so you guys know when the next review is coming out and just kind of stay up to date with all the behind the scenes stuff that I like to post from time to time. One last thing I will say is thank you to those of you that purchased your flight stands from Project Flight over on Etsy during the launch. I do appreciate all your support, and I will be restocking the store very soon once I get the material and everything like that, get them prepped, and then we'll be able to restock the store so that you guys can get your hands on some more of the stands. I do hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace out.